Ooh, I always wonder what these things say. I think they say start the film, you dipshit. I don't know. Cornet! Oh, and they're in color this time, and I'm not even dressed for it. I don't think they ever really did. Oh, crap, this professor's packing. He's got a Glock! It's a fancy Glock from Cornell. Ooh. You gotta nip it in the bud, Andy. Come on, you kids are free to do the locomotion. Rules everywhere there's rules.
Smoothly and fairly.
You know, for those who feel that they are above the law.
Where we're going. Help us work together and play together and live together.
As if you really want
small
to.
Groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
It's the Get Along Gang, circa 1952.
When many of us play together,
Oh
rules
man,
make the game.
the early version of Sandlot sucked.
Rules help us play fair with each other.
Go up there and whip like you always do, Bobby.
Rules that apply.
Ah, nice swing. You can sign on with the Baltimore Orioles in no
Each
time.
one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Aw, man. We gotta go learn stuff now.
More fair and more useful. Inside our school, we also have rules for fair play and for getting along together.
You know, all starched and white.
In our library, for example.
It has a bouncer.
Here, many of us use the same books and reference materials. So
We make sure to
have set up
mark it
rules
so that we all can
to
cheat.
help make the library a good place to study and read.
Not that any of us can do
and to
it.
help all of us use the books more fairly. Of course, at
My
times,
life is a
some
hollow
of us have
lie.
trouble with the rules.
You have a book out, overdue, and it's already been renewed once. I can't
This must
let
have
you
been
take
take
out another
30.
until you bring that book back.
Oh, sure you can. Look, I need that book, and this one too, for an assignment.
I'll
Now,
introduce
just
you to
let me
Harvey
take it out,
Weinstein.
and I'll bring it back next week.
No, I can't. It's the
How about I
rule.
take you out behind the school and
Yes, it's
beat
the
you
rule.
down with a
But
card
John
catalog?
needed the book. And
Oh,
he
they had to
wanted Betty
mute this
make
because
an
it was
exception
too
to the
vulgar.
rule. Of course, she could not make an exception.
Johnny isn't special.
But she suggested that John take his
Look,
problems
John,
to the
you're not
principal.
special. Get lost. Beat it.
All right, I will.
Loser.
So John came to see me, to ask me to make an exception in his case.
Well, you're white, and I don't
What
see
should
anything
we
wrong
tell
with it.
people who want exceptions to the rules? How can we show them that exceptions are unfair, that they spoil the game?
Throw the telephone at him like Russell
That's it.
Crowe.
They spoil the game. When you strike out
Yeah,
in
sit down,
baseball,
Chris Davis.
would it be fair to ask for an exception for another strike?
If it was batting behind him, sure.
When you're in a hurry to get somewhere, you still wait at red lights. You know that exceptions would not be fair.
No, but T-Bones would be on the rise.
Just imagine having an exceptioner in the library to decide that
Oh,
one person
man,
doesn't
Mr.
have to bring
McFeely
books
turned
back,
into a
but
Nazi.
another one does. Would this be fair?
I
Would
will
it be
give you
fair to make
exceptions and 1 million
excuse
years
some people
dungeon.
from paying fines
Now give me your lunch money.
while making other people pay?
Yeah, you gotta grease the wheels somehow.
Well, John finally agreed that rules must apply to everyone.
Including people who
But
wear
exceptions
shirts like
are
him.
unfair. The rules are pretty important after all.
Even in places
The
like
rules
Matt
are so
Painting
important
Land.
that we go to a lot of trouble to remind everyone of the rules.
So long,
We
Square.
post bulletins that remind us of the rules about fire drills, where to go and what
Wow,
to
nice
do,
editing there, bucko.
about school activities,
Not that you'd actually
what they
do any of
and
them.
how they operate, about safety on the streets near our school.
Oh, yeah, Big Brother is definitely watching here. Jesus. Not subtle in the
rules for
least.
living together.
Remember, Smokey Bear is watching you.
We have hall guards to remind us of our traffic rules in the hall.
Oh, yeah, the school has hired muscle.
Our teachers are always glad to answer questions about the rules.
You know, 'cause they got nothing better to do.
Yes, most of the time we
Fire the
remember
blonde.
and
She wasn't supposed to
respect
be looking at the
rules.
camera.
But sometimes, some of us have problems because of not knowing the rules, or forgetting
Yeah,
them.
you shouldn't be wearing a shirt like that.
Come in, Alvin.
Mr. Blackwell sent me from gym class. I didn't know we were supposed to bring gym shoes to class today. We've been having
But
class
it's
outdoors
gym class. What were you
until
thinking?
today.
Didn't Mr. Blackwell tell the class to bring gym shoes?
Maybe
Well,
Egon here is trying to
I must
skip
have been
that
absent
class.
that day.
Absent?
Absent-minded.
Not listening
Ooh.
very carefully. Alvin, whose job is it to see that you know the rules?
Dave Seville.
Sit down. What could I
Listen
say?
to that rule
How
before you
could I
get your
show
legs broken.
Alvin his responsibility? How do you convince people that they must learn the rules?
Through fear and intimidation.
Suppose you are watching a game of work-up baseball. Say
Why?
you've never played it, but you'd like to try. How would you go about learning the rules these fellows use?
The internet.
You'd
Because
watch
why
for a
ask
while,
people?
wouldn't you?
They're scary. Golly gee, that looks
If someone
fun.
caught a fly and traded places with the batter, well, then you'd have some idea of one of the rules.
You'd be totally wrong, of course, but you're
And
closer
could
than
look
you
to
were
see where
before.
the bases were. They might be just like regular baseball, or perhaps not.
Perhaps they're in a
Then if you
landfill.
were given a chance to play, you'd
Ah,
ask some questions.
Sean Penn lets you
Questions
play.
about the
How
rules.
nice.
And then you'd play. And you'd have fun by playing by the rules.
Oh, come on, Chris Berman, get to it.
Now suppose you're in school on your way to a new class.
It's okay, I'd rather
Whenever you
not.
come into a new situation, you watch for rules.
What
So,
did
as
he
you
smash
enter
his
shop
face
class
into
for
a
the first
wall?
time,
Why is
you
his
look
hair
around.
like that?
You see workbenches. Quite a few of them.
You
You'll
see
probably be
Pugsley.
assigned to one.
Quite a few
and
of
it'll be
him.
up to you to keep it neat and take care of the tools there.
Okay, you're gonna trust 10-year-olds with a
One
bandsaw?
and a rule. Whenever many people use the
Ah, my fingers, dear God, why?
well, how do you get permission
I hear wielding a gun
Ask.
works.
and find out? That's another
I'd
way
like to
learn
play
the
with
rules.
your tools.
Look
Son, I
around
don't
you.
think you want to tell me that
Read.
ever again.
Watch. Ask questions.
And when you come back,
You can learn the rules
bring
if
some
you try.
10W40 so I can change the oil in my hair.
Well, Alvin seemed to understand that it was his responsibility to learn the rules.
Yeah, not Simon or
And he promised
Theodore's,
to bring
but
his
his
nephews
and
with
his
him.
alone. Well,
You
he's
know,
going
it's
on
worth
my naughty list
remembering.
for sure.
When we don't know the rules, or if we forget them, it's just as unfair to others as if we
So,
broke the
how
rules
is my
on
little
purpose.
stormtrooper doing?
Now, Ernie, he's one of our hall guards. He'd been waiting to see me because he had another question about rules.
Could he eat cookies in bed with
Well,
Bert?
we're having trouble on the west stairway. You see, that's supposed to be up only. But at certain times of the day, there's hardly anyone around the halls, and it's handy
You
for some
go,
to come
Betty.
down
Look
the
at
west
that.
stairs.
Oh, hey!
Silly telling them not to.
No Chads
They're
here,
not
dude.
supposed to enforce
Beat
the
it.
rules. Well, Mr. Taylor, the hall guards just don't know what to do.
Well, perhaps that stairway isn't as congested as it was when our traffic rules were set up. Maybe they need changing.
Maybe
Would
we
you
should
change
just
the
burn
rules,
the
Mr.
school
Taylor?
down.
That might help.
Well, that's not my rule to change, Ernie.
We have to
Now,
talk to
remember
God
the
for that
student
one.
committee planned the hall traffic program. But you might like to study the problem, talk it over with the other hall guards, and then make suggestions to the student committee.
Well, that
That's a good
sounds
idea.
hard.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Not at all.
My nipples agree.
That's
It's cold in
another
here.
important thing to remember about rules. They're set up to meet a need.
In another life, I must
and
have
we
been
can
Raymond
each take
Burr.
part in changing them if changes are needed. How are rules
Well, you
made?
see, when one law loves another law
Our
very
school
much.
board here in town makes some rules.
Oh,
After
the
all,
local
the parents
jackasses
hold them
are in charge of the
responsible for
asylum.
making this
That's
a good
great.
school. Our state government makes some overall rules for schools to give
And
each
they're not
one of
really
us
good.
a fair chance to learn.
They also handle our budget, which really screws us over.
And we, through our own student representatives, make some of the rules too.
I'd like to
They help us
petition to
find ways
become a
of making our
barber
lives at
pole if
school
I could.
smoother and more pleasant, and fair for all.
Sure, why not?
Our rules apply equally to all, with no exception.
But this is the 1950s, so
That is
take
part
that
of
as you
making them
will.
Fair. Each one of us has the responsibility of learning the
Oh,
rules
Egon,
and
you finally
remembering to
brought some
follow them.
Converse. Good for you.
And we can work together to make better rules when we need them.
Oh, yeah. Problem
And to use our
solved.
rules
My life is
to help
accomplished and I
make
can
living
die a
in
happy
school
man.
More happy and worthwhile for all.
Hey, how you guys doing? keep touching me and you're gonna end up gagged with this tape. Do you feel like you learned a thing? Because I haven't.